And we back. Now today's video we're going to be grading NBA teams based on the first month of the NBA. But it's not as simple as it sounds. I'm not going to look at a team's record and be like, they got the best record in the league, so they must get an A+. Or this team has the worst record in the league, so they must get an F. No. There are a lot of different factors that are going to be going into this grade, and one is their success relative to what they were expected. For example, the Atlanta Hawks suck right now, but we knew they were going to suck going into the season, so I'm not going to give them an F because they're doing exactly what they want to do. So that's one factor. Next is watchability, because if it's not fun watching your team, I'm sorry, you can't get a high grade. And then how the team is being run. So the front office, the rotations from the coaches, just so many things are going to go into it, and I'll break it down once we get to each and every team. Another thing I got to say, these are all my personal opinions. Yeah. So you may think your team deserves an A, and I may give them a C, but that's just how things work. And then lastly, this is not a prediction to how they're going to be at the end of the season, but just what we have right now, which is 1 month of NBA. How would I grade every team? With all that out of the way, let's get to the first team, which is the 76ers. So they're 12-7 as I'm recording this video. Maybe not as good as a record as we wanted them to have this early into the season, but definitely not a bad record either. I'm giving them a B. And the reason it's a B is because they saw a hole that they had as a team, and what they did, they went out and made a trade to fulfill that hole. They needed a closer. They need the closer. Joel Embiid has been doing okay as a closer, but they need a certified closer. And if you ask me, Jimmy Butler's like a top 10 closer in this league. They also need a guy that you can say, here, take this ball, isolation, get a bucket. Jimmy Butler's that guy as well. And no, the first couple games with Jimmy Butler may not have been spectacular, but you can see that it's going in the right direction, so I'm giving them a B. Milwaukee Bucks is getting an A for me. 12-4 as I'm recording this video. The first month of the season has been perfect for the Milwaukee Bucks. Everything that they did in the offseason has translated perfectly this first month of the season. They got a great coach and Coach Bud. They signed Brook Lopez. Like, Brook, we need you to sit at the three-point line and launch them. And he's been launching them, and he's been hitting them at a high clip. And with the watchability, well, they have one of the most exciting players in the league with Giannis. This team for the first month has just been super exciting, super good, so they get an A. Chicago Bulls are 4-13 as I'm recording this video. It's tough out there. It's real tough out there. I'm giving them a D+. And again, it's not just because they're bad, but it's because they're hard to watch right now. But I was close to giving them an I for incomplete, because if you take a look at our roster, Chris Dunn, our starting point guard, is out. Denzel Valentine is out for the rest of the season. Lauri Markkanen hasn't played a second this season. Bobby Portis is out. We just have so many injuries that we haven't seen what this team looks like with the whole roster. So because I was close to giving it an I, but I can't imagine somebody like going through League Pass like, oh, the Bulls are playing, let me tune in. It's probably not how it works. I watch every game because I'm a fan, but if Zach LaVine is not dropping 30, they're super hard to watch. So D+. The Cavs are 2-13 and they get a D. Yeah, they get a D. You know, early in the season or before the season started, you had players like Tristan Thompson like, yo, we ain't no slouch. We gonna be still decent even though LeBron is gone. Come on now. We knew. But it's not even just that. You had all the locker room murmurs. First of all, they fired Tyronn Lue very early in the season. You had the locker room murmurs about the players on the team don't like Colin Sexton. They say he can't hoop. And it's just so much going on in Cleveland right now that maybe not getting a lot of coverage because they suck. But everything that's going on, I got to give them a D. They're a bad team. They're not fun to watch. And then they got players that hate each other already. The Celtics are 9-8. They're getting a C for me. They are definitely not performing the way we expected them to perform early in this season. Their offense is terrible. Last time I checked, they were 27th in offense. 27th. A team with so many offensive weapons just has not been able to put it together. And it's taken a lot longer than I expected. After the first couple weeks, I was like, oh, don't worry. They'll get it together. They really haven't. Kyrie has got it together. He's been balling since he cut his hair. But the rest of the team just hasn't really got it going. They've been like experiment to have Gordon Hayward come off the bench. It's just been a very weird time. I would have gave them a lower score, but the fact that their defense is like one of the best in the league has got them a little bit higher. I'm giving them a C, and we moving on. The Clippers are 11-6 right now. I gotta give them an A-. Nobody expected them to be one of the top teams in the league right now. When I watch them play, and they're a very watchable team, you can tell that they like each other. Not every team has that. They like each other. They swing the ball. Lou Williams does do his ISO, which, I mean, it's Lou Williams, so you're going to allow that. But when Lou Williams is not isolating, they swinging the ball here and there. He got tons of ball movement. Though they don't have a star, they're a very solid team, so they're getting an A-. Next, we have the Grizzlies, another surprising team at 11-5. A lot of people predicted them to not even be in the playoff race, and here we are a month into the season, one of the top teams in the Western Conference. Again, this is not a prediction video, so I don't know where they'll end by the end of the season, but for the first month, they have been very good. I'm giving them a B+. The reason it's a B+ though, and not like an A- like the last team, is because they're the slowest team in the league, and for me, this is not the way I like it. I understand that Memphis is grinded out games, always has been. As long as the Memphis Grizzlies have been competitive, they're gonna grind out those games. And for some people, that's the way they like to watch it. But for me, it's just a little bit of knock, so it's a B+. Shout out to Jaren Jackson Jr., who's been balling. Mike Conley, Marc Gasol, both healthy, just been working out. So shout out to Memphis and all the Memphis fans. The Hawks get a D. And it's not just because they suck, because they definitely suck. But they're very, very hard to watch. At least they were in the first month of the season. Now they have John Collins back, so maybe they get a couple highlights here and there or whatever. But if Trae Young is not hitting threes, which he's really not hitting threes, they're a very hard team to watch. And understand, they got the youth movement going on. They're tanking. They want their #1 pick or whatever. But I still got to knock them for not being a fun team to watch. So, D. The Miami Heat are 6-11, and I'm giving them a D+. They have always been a team, at least in recent history, to start off kind of tough and then make their way into the playoffs. So I'm not saying they won't make the playoffs. Again, not a prediction video. But for the first month, they were hard to watch and they were losing games. They do have their bright sides, and like Josh Richardson being great. But I need them to go out there, pick up the phone, and call the Wizards and try to make a deal for one of those guys. They don't have the money to sign a free agent, so they need to make a deal because they have a lot of decent pieces on their roster. If I'm them, I'm calling the Wizards like, yo, what do you want? Everybody on our team is available except for Josh Richardson. Do not trade Josh Richardson. And try to get another star in Miami, because right now, y'all ain't really got it. D+, Miami Heat. Let's move on. The Hornets are one of the most bipolar teams in the league. At 8-8, I'm giving them a C. They're watchable, but it's just because Kemba's so good and so fun. The rest of the team ain't really got it. Miles Bridges is watchable. You know, he gets some highlights here and there. Jeremy Lamb is a quality player. Tony Parker has been pretty solid for them this year. But other than that, the team is just I need them to also pick up the phone and call the Wizards, just like I did in the last video. They're getting a C. Kemba is so incredible that if it wasn't for him, they'd be a lot worse. The Jazz at 8-9 are getting a C- for me. Yeah. This is a team that I projected to be, again, one of the top defenses in the league. And so far this season, their defense just hasn't been there. And let's not forget that they lost by 50 to the Mavericks. I was close to getting them a D+. They just haven't really got it together so far this season. But just like last year, they struggled early in the season. Then they picked it up late. But right now, C-. The Kings are 9-8. And I'm giving them a B-. They are very watchable. They are very fun. De'Aaron Fox is really turning into his own just in the sophomore season. That's great. Usually it takes a few years for a point guard to really get a feel for the NBA. But De'Aaron Fox is figuring it out in his second season, which is great. I'm giving them a B-. And it would be higher, but there's reports that they're thinking about firing Dave Yeager. I don't understand it. They're saying they're trying to fire him because he's not playing Marvin Bagley enough, or he's not playing Harry Giles enough. But if you ask me, I think those guys should play their way into the rotation. If you don't deserve the minutes, you shouldn't get the minutes. Anyway, Dave Yeager has been doing a pretty solid job. He's got them playing well. 8-9, a couple good wins on their record. B-. The Knicks at 4-14 are C-. Oh, you was probably expecting a little bit worse because they're a bad team. No, if you take a look at their games, though they're losing, they're in a lot of games. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been a baller so far this season. Many people not really talking about it. They're in games, they're making it close, and they're like, you know what? We're going to take our foot off the gas pedal so we can lose this out. I like it. Their young players may not have been playing great so far. Frank Ntilikina hasn't been that good. Kevin Knox hasn't been good coming back from his injury. Alonzo Trier has been good. Mitchell Robinson has been okay. But they've been all right, you know? A lot of losses, but quality losses. The Lakers are 9-7. I'm giving them a B. Picking up Tyson Chandler was a huge move for them. Coming into the season, I mentioned plenty of times that I don't know what they're going to do about that backup center position. And they had Kyle Kuzma in the backup center position, and that did not work out. So they got Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler has been pretty solid for them. LeBron James has kicked it up his gear, and they're a fun team to watch. So they're getting to be at 9-7. The Magic are going to get a C+ from me. They are 8-8. They're not an extremely watchable team. I'm sorry. They're just not. Though they do win some games. They beat the Lakers the other night, so they got a couple good wins under their record, but They're just not extremely watchable, so that's why it's a C+, and we gonna move on. The Mavericks are 7-9, and they've been kind of picking it up as of late. You know, they started off pretty tough, but Luka is starting to knock the rust off. They got to be minus for me. I can just see glimpses of what Luka is going to look like in a couple years, and I'm super excited. I cannot believe so many teams passed up on Luka so far. They really missed out. Dennis Smith Jr. has been incredible, but he's been solid as a nice piece next to Luka Doncic, but I can tell this is going to be Luka's team for years and years and years. The Nets are 8-10. I'm giving them just a C-. Their watchability went down a little bit once Karis LeVert went out, but they got that two-headed point guard and Spencer Dinwiddie and D'Angelo Russell. That's been pretty okay for them, but they're a team that's going to be middle of the pack or probably close to the bottom of the standings, and they're all right. The Nuggets are 10-7. I'm giving them a B+. As of late, they kind of been struggling a bit to get some wins, but when I take a look at their stats, they're top 10 in offense and defense. So though they're losing some of these games, they continue top 10 in both categories. They'll be okay, right? One thing I just need is for Nikola Jokic to be a little bit more aggressive, but he has been showing glimpses of that as well. Super watchable team, a good team. So we're giving them a B+. The Pacers at 11-6, get an A-. Early in the season, Victor Oladipo kind of struggled, and we were like, ooh, was last year a fluke? You shouldn't have thought that. It was too early to determine, and he has turned it up late in the first month, and they have been a very good team. Domantas Sabonis off the bench, I haven't really mentioned it, but he should be in candidacy for 6th man of the year. The guy has been really balling off his bench. So A- for them. Shout out to him. Continue to win. I need Victor to get healthy because he missed the last game, and then he got pulled early in the game before that. So I need him to get healthy for them to continue to be good. Shout out to Victor Oladipo. But let's move on. The Pelicans are 10-7 as of late. You know, they're on a nice little win streak. B+, man. They're fun. It's hard not to be fun when you have one of the best players in the league, and Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the league. It's kind of a two-headed monster with Drew and him, but then every once in a while you get Etuan Moore. He had like 2 back-to-back 30-point games. They shoot the 3-ball. They're a fast team, and they got it. Alfred Payton is injured, which sucks for them, but that hasn't really hurt them so far. B+. The Pistons are one of the tougher teams for me to gauge. Right now, they're 8-6. They have Blake Griffin, who's very good at his job. They have Drummond, who's very good at his job. But the rest of the roster is just kind of you know? So I'm giving them a C+. The Raptors are 14-4. They're getting an A. Have you noticed that nobody gets an A+? Because nobody deserves that perfect score. A. They're extremely watchable. They're one of the best teams in the league. They have one of the best players in the league. And though their bench is not as good as it was last year, at least statistically, their bench has been very solid. Fred VanVleet needs to pick it up a little bit, but I'm guessing he will. Team is very good. We'll just move on. A. The Rockets are 8-7 right now. They're getting a C- for me. They were the #1 team in the league last year, and they just haven't been that so far this year. And then with the whole Melo thing, I don't know how to gauge what their front office is doing right now. So they're getting a C-. Of course, I think they're going to pick it up. They're not going to be the best team in the league like last year. But, man, they just haven't really got it right now. The Spurs are 8-8. They get a C, man. They're just middle of the pack right now. They're okay to watch. They're a slow team, though. Grinded out games. Just a C. The Suns are 3-13. They suck. And coming into the season, they had made some moves in the offseason. They were like, you know what? We don't want to tank anymore. We're done with the tanking stuff. I mean, you were done with it, but the team is still not very good. You get a D. Thunder are 10-6. They get an A-, man. They held their own without their star, Russell Westbrook. Paul George picked it up and just been so solid. It's funny because as soon as Russell Westbrook came back, they lost the game, but it don't matter. Russell Westbrook has been good when he has been playing. Paul George has picked it up after a slow start to the season. Very watchable team, A-. The Timberwolves are 7-10 right now, so I'm giving them a C. I cannot ignore the fact that it took them over a month to trade the locker room cancer and Jimmy Butler. But they do have one of the best bigs in the league in Karl Anthony Towns. I like the return they got for Jimmy Butler. They've been 3-1 since the trade, so that's a good thing. But I'm looking at the whole month in general, so because of that, they get a C. Blazers, 12-5. Dame, CJ, keep it up, my brothers. A, keep it up. Very watchable, and they're winning good games. A. The Warriors, 12-6. B-. Oh, Warriors fans will come after me. That's just kind of the way it works. A lot of things been going on in that locker room that I cannot ignore, and they have a lot of losses. Without Stephen Curry on the roster, or without him on the court, they haven't been a very good team. They haven't been a very good team. And for the league, it kind of opens it up, but you know Stephen Curry's going to come back and they're going to win eventually. But, you know, this first month, maybe not what we expected. And then lastly, the Wizards, 6-11, D. Very quality win last night, coming back from down 20. But we looking at the whole month in general. So many bad losses. So many bad losses. And then the arguments in the locker room, it needs to be reset. I'm giving them a D. And I hope the next time we talk about the Wizards is because they made a trade. And that's it. Those are all my grades. Again, all my personal opinions. The comment section is there for you to give your personal opinions. What did you think I got wrong? What did you think I got right? Let me know. I'll be reading the comments. This has been Kenny. The newest episode of Through the Wire just dropped as well. So go ahead, watch that. Link is in the description. I'm out. Peace.